Hello there. Hello there. Happy Thursday to you. We're getting closer to the weekend. Man, a few notes before I start my Bernie Miklasz Show on YouTube. First of all, thank you. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. And thank you for all of your comments. I was in there last night and I think answered everybody. Tried to. So I'm going to do a better job with that going forward. Anyway, a couple of programming notes. I'm going to do two videos today. The first one will be here on the Cardinals, taking a look at some key areas of the team as they get ready for 2025. Today, it'll be about the bullpen. Can the Cardinals bullpen repeat what was an amazing performance in 2024? We'll get to that question. But I will be doing a soon after this one is posted. I'm going to get right back into it. I got to make a few more notes. And I'm going to be doing a video on Mizzou basketball, not just because they won a highly entertaining and very impressive game last night, beating Alabama at Mizzou Arena. It just so much fun, so enjoyable. Those games are big events in Mizzou, and it's just great to see for the program, but also just the turnaround of this program and the historical prominence of it. And the fact that I think Mizzou, I really believe this in terms of, if you look at what teams like, all right, what teams are built for the NCAA tournament? Yeah, Mizzou certainly seems to have that identity. And I'll get into that in the next video. And I'm not predicting anything because why would you? The NCAA tournament tends to be random, man. Really good teams get bounced all the time. So anyway, the other thing is I can't wait to watch the Four Nations Championship tonight between the U.S. and Canada. So you got Jordan Bennington for Canada. He's not the only one, of course, but he's at Boston Garden with a chance to win the gold medal by beating the U.S., which just beat Canada. And this is the final, and it's a great rivalry. And the hockey players from each nation hate each other, not literally, but man, it is a really, really intense rivalry. And I think the U.S. has been the better team, but they're kind of beat up. And even though the Kachuk boys will be there, you just never know. If Bennington can do tonight for Canada what he did for the Blues in the same building, Boston Garden. I know it's TD Garden. I'll just call it Boston Garden. If he can do what he did for the Blues in Game 7 in 2012 in Boston, then Canada's going to win the thing. And Bennington has been taking a lot of heat. There's been a lot of criticism. I haven't followed every single one of their games, but I know that he's been accused of allowing some soft goals. But will the Bennington of 2019 show up? I don't even know if I got the year right the first time. Will the Bennington of 2019, the St. Louis Blues, show up at TD Garden tonight? If I said some other year, I apologize because I'm trying to rush through that. All right, let's get started with the question of the day. Yesterday, what we talked about was, can Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman make a comeback? And will the new batting coach help them? And so that's still there. If you missed it, you want to see it or go through it, that's fine. I appreciate it. So here's question number 2 in this series of videos that I'm doing. Can the Cardinals bullpen repeat its fantastic performance that we saw in 2024? It is a big, big, big question. And I would have to say my confidence level is about a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. It doesn't mean I think the bullpen stinks. The question isn't whether the bullpen will be good or bad or mediocre. So I'm just asking you, please, to understand what the question is solely focused on. The likelihood of the Cardinals repeating what their relievers did or coming close to it, what their relievers did in 2024. And I think it's a really formidable challenge. And I'm happy to explain it. The 2024 bullpen was one of the best that's been deployed by the Cardinals since Bill DeWitt bought the team before 1996. The 24 Cardinals bullpen led the majors in saves, tied for 7th in win probability added, which is a big stat for me, when I assess bullpens. They were credited with the 7th highest number of shutdowns. The 2025 bullpen, unlike last year, they will not have the valuable setup reliever Andrew Kittredge, who signed a free agent deal with Baltimore, 1 year, $10 million. And this bullpen will once again rely on lefty Jojo Romero as an important late inning piece. And I love what Romero has done, generally speaking, but I'm a pragmatist and I feel compelled to point out stuff, whether it be good or bad, that maybe hasn't been discussed enough. I guess it's one of my strengths or one of my weaknesses. You can decide. Last season, Romero was incredible the first month of the season, and he had a pretty good August as well. But Romero had an 18% strikeout rate over the final 5 months of the season. That should have been around 30%. He had an 18% strikeout rate over the final 5 months, and then he had a 5.17 ERA over the final 4 months. Can he bounce back? Well, sure. But we also said that about Giovanni Gallegos after he burned out and kind of lost some of the swing and miss stuff and was giving up home runs and he was walking more people. And Gio, who's one of my favorite Cardinal relievers ever, he never bounced back. The Cardinals basically designated him for assignment a year ago and ate the final year on his contract. The Cardinals have some good pieces in the bullpen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the bullpen is now because Romero, there was the big three last year where you generally, not always, but you had Romero and you had Kittredge and then you had Ryan Helsley. Ryan Fernandez was in there some, Libator was in there some, John King actually better than I thought he would be. So they have other relievers contributing to that. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's all about three guys, but those three guys last year were extremely important. So I think the Cardinals have some surprise candidates for bullpen duty in this bullpen for 2025. It doesn't mean they're going to open the season in St. Louis, but I do think there's a number of potential surprise candidates. And again, I'm not Pollyanna. I get kind of turned off by all the la-di-da of spring training. And, you know, some dude has a great batting practice. Some young dude has a great batting practice, or he hits 2 home runs in the first week and everyone's got him in Cooperstown. And of course, I'm exaggerating. But you know what I'm saying. Spring training is the time of year where we're all storytellers and we all go bananas over young kids or borderline roster candidates just jumping out, right? Sometimes it means something. A lot of times, most times it doesn't. So I'm struggling with this. I don't think the 2025 bullpen can approximate the 2024 bullpen. And that's why I'm pessimistic. You don't see this level of dominance by a bullpen very often, and the Cardinals absolutely had it last season. I don't think it's sustainable. And again, I'm going to explain why. Here's a recap. In 2024, the Cardinals relievers were outstanding in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. The bullpen crew ranked first in the National League and second overall in the majors in ERA over the final 3 innings. I don't include extra innings for a legitimate reason, because you got the ghost runner rule, the Manfred man runner at second base that puts a run in scoring position even before the pitcher goes to the mound. So I always just try to keep it 1 through 9. And the Cardinals, again, that just shows you when you're second best overall, number 1 in the National League in bullpen ERA, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. I mean, that gives you a great indicator right there how strong of a bullpen that was. Number 2, the Cardinals were 64-4 last season when they led a game through 7 innings. 64-4. It was a 941 winning percentage, 941 winning percentage that ranked 7th in the majors. Because of the killer closer, Ryan Helsley, and this is maybe my favorite number of the 2024 season. The Cardinals last year, when they had a lead after 8 innings, were 69-1. I said 69-1. And I have written about that. I've mentioned it. And every time I do, I make sure to go back and check to make sure I didn't screw something up, because 69-1 when leading after 8 innings doesn't happen that much. That success rate was the best in the National League, and only Cleveland, by a hair, had a better record through 8 innings than the Cardinals last year. And they also had Clase, that great closer of theirs, who ran out of gas, and unfortunately for the Guardians in the postseason. Here's another telling stat. It's not as dramatic, but it is revealing. Last season for the Cardinals, when a game was tied through 6 innings, the team won 18-9. So these are tipping point games. They can go one way or the other. Now, the bullpen wasn't the only factor. but it's safe to say a lot of those tied games through 6 innings fell on the side of the winning equation because the bullpen was winning a large share of those battles when the games were tied late. Because of all of this, all the things I've just explained, there is no question that this is the number one reason, and I don't think anything else is really close. This was the number one reason why the 2024 Cardinals had a 29-22 record in one-run games. That was the second best record in the National League and the 5th best record in the majors. And that's why the Cardinals, it's easily, convincingly why the Cardinals finished the season with a winning record. But as we know, if we've all followed baseball enough, we know this. Bullpens are combustible. They can fluctuate year to year. Sometimes they fluctuate wildly. And it is hard to win consistently when you have an unstable bullpen. And we have sat through some of these, right? There's more uncertainty now that Kittredge is gone and other relievers will be moving into more important roles. I think they can have a good bullpen, but to the level that it was last season, no. I just think that's just asking a lot. We can never rule out the possibility of a surprise. You know, Ryan Fernandez was a rookie last year. He was a Rule 5 guy. He didn't even look that great in spring training, and let that be a lesson about taking too much out of spring training. He was a huge surprise, wonderful surprise in 2024. Can he do it again? I think he can. But what if the Cardinals move Fernandez into those high leverage tests on a more regular basis? Is he ready to handle that? Can he come close to replicating just to be nearly as good as Kittredge last season? I think that's possible, but we'll see. Are there surprise reliever candidates in camp this year? There's always surprise candidates, but one guy in particular the Cardinals are talking about, Ali Marmol has name-checked him twice, is Tekoa Roby, the pitcher that they got from Texas for Jordan Montgomery at the deadline in 2023, but he has a hard time staying healthy. But they've got some guys down below that have a chance to graduate to the majors. And then there is Helsley. That's why I saved the best for last. He missed time with injuries during his career. That has been the one downside. He missed 20 days in 2019, 48 days in 2021, 83 days in 2023. He did have that. He was pretty healthy in 2022, but he had that freak finger injury in the final week of the season in 2022. And that came on a fielding play. So it wasn't nothing to do with his pitching health, right? But Helsley insisted he was ready to go for the playoff series against the Phillies. Marmol and Dusty Blake, and everyone looked at him and said, oh, yeah, he's ready to go. And he clearly wasn't ready to go because whatever that that finger issue was, whether it affected his grip, whatever, he wasn't the same guy in that 9th inning game. The Cardinals should have won, but it was a, sad to say, epic meltdown that cost the Cardinals game 1. And yeah, by the way, Ali Marmol should have moved quicker, understanding that Helsley wasn't Helsley. Water under the bridge, not bridge under the water. If the bridge was underwater, that'd really be bad. Anyway, Helsley had a completely healthy season in 2024. He was chosen as the National League's reliever of the year. He established career highs for relief appearances, innings pitched, saves. Those 49 saves, as you know, led the majors. Ali Marmol deserves some credit. I know I'm not allowed to do that. I'll probably be arrested. But Ali Marmol, I'm only kidding. Ali Marmol changed the way he had been utilizing Helsley. He got smarter about it. Just said, no more of this stuff trying to get an inning in a third, 2 innings. He's going to be limited. He's going to be confined to 1 inning appearances only, and it's going to be in save situations, maybe the occasional tie game when we have a chance to steal it. And that plan worked great, and it definitely helped Helsley stay healthy. But what about 2025? Can they keep him on that plan? Will they keep him on that plan in 2025? I think they will. I think Marmol will definitely I don't see why he wouldn't, because it worked so well in 2025. But you never know what's going to happen when a team maybe starts to go south, people start to freak out or whatever. Listen, I'm not predicting any doom or gloom for that matter, but relievers who throw 100 miles an hour are vulnerable. An arm injury is always a possibility. That applies to Helsley, and that applies to any reliever on any team in any year who throws extremely hard. I think about Trevor Rosenthal. He was one of the joys I had as a columnist at the Post-Dispatch, STL Today, covering those Cardinals teams. He came up in 2012 and was a big part of that team through 2017. And he was so talented, so intimidating. He had such great success on those Cardinals teams, and he was dynamite in the postseason. And I'm going to share this just because I want to brag about my friend Trevor Rosenthal. Then the elbow problem surfaced, and one thing led to another. He had a couple seasons for the Cardinals where physically he was just sort of gutting it out. He wasn't at his best. He still managed to get a lot done, but he was pitching through discomfort, and that's what relievers also do a lot, right? They're great competitors. They want to be there for the team. But I'll be honest with you, I really don't think there's been enough appreciation of how great Rosie was for the Cardinals from 2012 through 2017. Can I bend your ear on that? During the DeWitt era, Rosenthal ranks number one among all St. Louis relievers in wins above replacement. More value than any reliever the Cardinals have had since 1996. And I'm talking about his career as a Cardinal. He has the best fielding independent ERA among relievers since 1996. Their career stats here, second in saves, and the best strikeout rate, 31.2%. So he still holds all those records. He saved 45 games in 2014, and then Rosie followed up with 48 saves in 2015. And over that 2-year period, his 93 saves were the most in the majors, and it was like 7 more than the next guy, I think was Craig Kimbrell. Here's the thing that really makes me smile. As you can see, I'm smiling when I'm talking about Trevor Rosenthal. He produced a remarkable set of postseason numbers. I mean, absolutely remarkable. And I sat there and watched every one of those games, and I certainly knew he was doing great. But it's not until some years go by and you look back on it and you put some numbers to it. And I did that, and I was just like, wow. All right. In 23 postseason appearances from 2012 through 2015, he had a 0.69 ERA in about 41 innings. He held batters to a 165 average, and he put them away with a 41% strikeout rate. That's 4 postseasons, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Struck out 41% of the batters that he faced, and ERA was sub 1 run. In his first 2 seasons, postseason, for the Cardinals, 2012 and 2013, and of course they won the pennant in 13, he did not allow a single run in 17 appearances over those 2 postseasons, covering 20 1/3 innings. And you know what his strikeout rate was in 12 and 13? These are big games, my friends, very big games. 47% strikeout rate. 47% strikeout rate over those 2 postseasons. And opponents batted .092 against him. The Cardinals won 21 postseason games and an NL pennant from 2012 through 2015. And Rosenthal was one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. But with a save on the line, a game on the line, he was a scary enforcer, and he was a huge reason behind their postseason success. Rosenthal, by the way, ranks first in Cardinals postseason history in appearances, innings pitched, strikeouts, and ERA. His ERA is easily the best in franchise history in the postseason for relievers who worked at least 10 innings. I'm going on and on and on and on and on about Rosenthal because I appreciate him. I think it's important to remember how great he was, but it also is a story. It's a cautionary tale. His career was ruined ultimately by an elbow injury and then repeated setbacks and then some other physical issues along the way. It makes me sad thinking about it because it was awesome to watch him at his peak. He was a show, and the Cardinals were really fortunate to have him at full level nastiness during most of those seasons. On top of that, yeah, you can probably tell. I think he's a great dude, and I think you should check him out on the Cardinal Territory podcast and YouTube show that's hosted by Katie Wu, and Trevor is the co-host on most of them. It's really a good watch. It's a good listen. I'm not predicting hardship for Ryan Helsley, but the inflammable gas that goes with being a hard-throwing reliever, that inflammable gas is an occupational hazard for those fellas. It really is. And it really is, I should say. And, last season, Helsley's average fastball sizzled in at 99.6 miles per hour, putting him in the top 1% of all major league pitchers for highest velocity. Hopefully, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed because he's someone who I have a lot of respect. He's such a good man. I'm hoping that he will stay healthy and sturdy and cash in on free agency after the season. And I am thinking they would never admit it, but I'm thinking the Cardinals front office is probably going to be just a little anxious as Helsley fires those high-intensity fastball and those hard-breaking sliders. It can have so much bite, because a serious injury would not only cost Helsley being in prime position entering the free agent market, but if an injury is more than just some minor thing, the Cardinals would miss out on a chance to trade him before the July 31st deadline this year. And if Helsley should crack, and I'm not saying he will, because Marmol got him on a good program to really, really, really reduce the possibility of that. But if he should crack, but even if the setup relief should crack, a big team strength from last year, the biggest team strength from last year, maybe the only true strength, all of a sudden that becomes a question, and that probably becomes a liability. In 2023, listen to this stat, and then numbers boy, stat boy here will shut up. Remember how bad 2023 was? 71-91 record. Hate to bring it up, but I needed to mention it. Helsley was injured a lot that year. He only appeared in 33 games. Now, here's the number I want you to pay attention to. I will speak slowly, not because you can't understand it. It's because I go so fast. It's like I want you to really let it sink in. In 2023, with the worst Cardinals team in a full season since 1990, in his 33 games, the Cardinals were 22-11. You know what their record was when he wasn't in a game? 49-80. 22-11 when he pitched, 49-80 when he didn't pitch. Whoa. For the most pessimistic Cardinals fans, and and I understand the pessimism. I'm not banging on anybody for that, but for the people that are maybe more pessimistic than some of us who think this team's going to crash in 2025, I'm telling you, if that happens, and I'm talking about the team crashing, the surest way that would happen is a major bullpen blow up. You know why? Cardinals had a solid at best rotation. It still wasn't like a great or good rotation, but it was solid, and it certainly was better than 2023. We all know the Cardinals had a dreadful offense last season. The bullpen was responsible for all the things they did to make up for the other weaknesses. And again, 69-1 when they had a lead through 8 innings. So if you're pessimistic about the Cardinals, if you're saying, well, I'm pessimistic because here, this, and this. All right, if I did such a list, I'm doing it sort of now, but I'm stopping at 1. My list would stop at 1 because that's all I would need. If I was to put together like, okay, here is why I'm pessimistic. Number 1 on the list, and the other stuff just doesn't matter because if the bullpen implodes, it doesn't matter what the rest of the team does. If the bullpen implodes, it ain't going to be a good season for the Cardinals. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope for good health. And let's hope that the Cardinals find some young arms that can really, really contribute in a positive way in 2025. So that's going to do it for the Bernie Miklasz Show. I hope you understood what I was doing here as I looked at a very big issue for the Cardinals in 2025, their bullpen. I'll be back later with a Mizzou video. Looking forward to that. I'm going to put that thing together. I still have a little stat work to do, and looking forward to that later on here on the Bernie Show. Thank you very much.